The Galactic Council chamber floated above a dying blue star, a place chosen to remind all species of balance and control. Light from the star bent through crystal walls, casting long shadows across the assembled delegates. Thousands of voices had argued here across centuries. Today, there was no argument. Today was the verdict. The central dais glowed as the council speaker activated the final decree. His voice echoed, calm and certain. By unanimous decision, the Sol system is placed under open jurisdiction. Human sovereignty is revoked. All restrictions on entry are lifted. A ripple of approval moved through the chamber. Some delegates showed relief. Others showed boredom. Humanity had not attended a council session in over 100 years. Many believed Earth no longer mattered. A senior analyst leaned toward her console, uneasy. Chair, Earth did not respond to our summons. The speaker dismissed it with a gesture. They never do. Humans withdraw when they lose. A few representatives laughed softly. Humanity has always been loud, emotional, and difficult, then suddenly silent. The galaxy had moved on, but the analyst's console kept flashing. Chair, she said again, louder this time. Long-range sensors are degrading. Starfield drift is inconsistent. Another delegate frowned. A stellar flare? No, the analyst replied. It's synchronized. Across the chamber, holographic star maps shimmered. Points of light flickered, not randomly, but in patterns. Entire regions dimmed, as if something massive was moving between the stars. The speaker's tone sharpened. Clarify. Before the analyst could answer, alarms whispered instead of screamed. That alone froze the room. Council alarms were designed to be subtle. Screaming meant panic. Whispering meant something worse. A tactical observer spoke quietly. We are losing passive scans. Not jammed. Replaced. Replaced with what? Someone asked. The observer swallowed. With older data. The chamber went silent. Older data appeared across the central display. Human origin telemetry. War signatures. Fleet formations marked obsolete by human standards from 2 centuries ago. That's impossible, a historian said. Those models were decommissioned. The analyst shook her head. They weren't decommissioned. They were archived. Dormant. Waiting. A new signal cut through every channel at once. No encryption. No greeting. Just a timestamp and a simple header. Earth Defense Network. Legacy Protocol active. The speaker stood. This is a violation of council space. No one responded. The blue star outside the chamber flickered. For a fraction of a second, its light dimmed, as if something enormous had passed in front of it. Then came the sound. Not through ears, but through instruments. A deep, steady vibration that made structural fields strain. The chamber's artificial gravity wavered. A junior technician whispered. Something just exited the folded space, inside the exclusion zone. How many ships? The speaker demanded. The technician stared at his screen. I don't know how to answer that. Try. They're layered, stacked in overlapping positions, as if they were already here. The star map was updated. The council's breath stopped. Human vessels filled the system like a graveyard awakening. Dark hulls, angular and scarred, with no insignias. No lights. No broadcast chatter. They did not maneuver. They simply existed, perfectly aligned, perfectly silent. A military delegate laughed nervously. Old war hulks. Probably unmanned. As if in response, one ship powered a single system. Not weapons. Communications. The signal did not come from the fleet. It came from the council chamber itself. Every screen went white. Then text appeared. Simple. Human language. Translated instantly. We warned you. The speaker stepped forward. This council demands. The message continued, ignoring him. You were told what would happen if our borders were crossed again. Images replaced the text. Archival footage. Humans stood before this same council centuries ago, pleading, warning, promising restraint if left alone. The chamber watched humans walk out after being ignored. The footage was cut. Live feed returned. One human ship moved. It did not fire. It adjusted position by a fraction of a degree. A distant council patrol vanished from sensors. No explosion. No debris. Just gone. The analyst's voice trembled. Chair, that ship erased a cruiser without breaching its hull. How? Someone whispered. By collapsing the space it occupied. The speaker finally understood. His voice dropped. They built weapons into physics itself. Another message arrived. We did not come to conquer. Human ships began activating across the system. Not aggressively, methodically, like machines executing a plan older than everyone in the room. We came because you chose to forget. Stargates across nearby sectors went dark. Supply lines vanished. Communications failed. The galaxy began to feel it, systems blinking offline, fleets stranded, empires suddenly alone. Panic spread through the chamber. Open negotiations, a delegate shouted. Appeal to Earth. The final message appeared. You will learn. Outside the chamber, the blue star dimmed again, not from damage, but from shadow. Something larger than the council chamber itself was arriving. And for the first time in recorded galactic history, the Galactic Council realized the truth too late. Earth had never left. Earth had been waiting. The shock did not fade when the human fleet appeared. It deepened. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, no one spoke for a long moment. Thousands of representatives sat frozen as if sound itself had been outlawed. The blue star outside continued to burn, but now it felt distant, weak, irrelevant compared to what surrounded them. Human ships did not advance. They did not threaten. They simply stayed. That was what terrified the council most. Emergency subcommittees activated automatically. Ancient procedures, rarely used, flickered back to life. Holograms layered over one another as analysts, historians, and military observers worked in frantic silence. Confirm the fleet count, the speaker ordered, his voice tight. A tactical officer answered slowly. We can't. Every time we isolate a formation, more signatures appear behind it. They're using folded depth, hiding mass inside mass. That violates known physics. Yes, the officer replied. Which means humans rewrote it. Across the chamber, historians accessed sealed archives, records no one had opened in generations. Files marked low priority. Resolved. Irrelevant. The word human appeared again and again. A senior historian began to speak, her voice shaking despite decades of discipline. The council remembers humanity wrong. We remember the noise, the anger, the protests. She gestured, and images filled the air. Old council sessions, humans standing alone among alien delegates, voices raised, fists clenched, demanding action against a rising threat on the frontier. They warned us about a war the rest of the galaxy refused to see, she continued. They asked for fleets. For unity. Another image appeared. A council vote. Denied. They fought anyway, she said. And they won. But it cost them everything. The chamber watched footage of human worlds burning, fleets shattered, populations displaced. And still, humans pushed forward, refusing to let the war spill deeper into galactic space. They finished the war alone, the historian said quietly. And when they returned, they were told to disarm. A murmur rippled through the chamber. That was standard protocol, a delegate argued weakly. Yes, the historian replied. And that is when humanity made its real decision. The images shifted again. Human ambassadors walking out of the council chamber. Not shouting, not threatening, silent. They did not declare war. They did not demand revenge, the historian said. They withdrew from galactic politics entirely. The speaker clenched his jaw. Withdrawal is not preparation. No, she agreed. Unless you believe betrayal is inevitable. Outside the chamber, one of the human ships adjusted its orientation again. Not toward the council, toward a distant trade corridor. Instantly, long-range scans reported disruption. Not destruction, control. Traffic halted. Civilian vessels found themselves unable to move forward or back. Humanity was not attacking targets. It was shaping the battlefield. Chair, an analyst said, her voice barely steady. We're detecting energy emissions from the fleet. Not weapons. Infrastructure. What kind of infrastructure? The speaker asked. The analyst swallowed. The kind you build when you expect to be alone. Across the galaxy, old human installations, thought abandoned, forgotten, began to wake up. Listening posts. Relays. Deep space anchors hidden inside dead systems and dark nebulae. Humans had not disappeared. They had gone underground. They built a shadow network, the analyst continued. Independent of the council. Independent of the gates. A military delegate stood abruptly. Then why now? Why reveal themselves? No one answered immediately. Then a junior archivist spoke, voice thin but clear. Because the trigger condition was met. All eyes turned to him. He brought up a single document. Ancient. Human-authored. filed centuries ago and dismissed as emotional rhetoric. The title translated automatically. Legacy response. If human space is breached. The text beneath it was short. If diplomacy fails again, assume intent. The council chamber felt smaller. Human commanders, light years away, watched the same events unfold with no emotion visible on their faces. They stood in quiet command halls carved deep beneath Earth's surface. Screens showed the galaxy blinking, stuttering, adjusting to a new reality. One commander spoke, his voice calm. Confirm all fleets are holding. Yes, an officer replied. No unauthorized movements. No active weapons. Good, the commander said. Let them remember first. Back in the council chamber, panic began to spread. Species that had once laughed at humanity now demanded emergency evacuation. Others tried to open direct channels to Earth. Every attempt was ignored. The speaker slammed his staff against the floor. We are the council. They cannot. They can. The historian interrupted softly. And they are. A new transmission arrived. Not from Earth. From a neutral system near the council's edge. A non-aligned species spoke, fear naked in its voice. The human fleet just passed us. They did not attack. They did not even acknowledge us. Then why are you contacting us? The speaker asked. Because when they passed, the aliens said, our ancient defense grid activated. Systems we didn't even know we had. The chamber went still. Humans built them. The alien continued. Centuries ago. For us. In case the council ever failed. The transmission cut. Realization spread like ice through the chamber. Humanity had not only prepared for betrayal. It had prepared to outgrow the council entirely. Another human message appeared across every screen. Still no voice. Still no threats. Just words. You judged us by our anger. Images followed. Humans grieving. Humans rebuilding. Humans trained generation after generation in silence. We learned from your peace. The final image showed the galaxy as it was now. Gates dark, fleets halted, empires suddenly fragile. And we learned what peace costs when enforced by those who never paid for it. The message ended. Outside the chamber, the human fleet remained motionless, waiting. The council finally understood the shape of the nightmare. Humanity was not improvising. This was not revenge. This was a long-planned correction. And the galaxy had just entered the phase humans had labeled, centuries ago, with chilling simplicity. Consequences. Across the galaxy, silence spread faster than panic. Stargates that had carried trillions now stood inert, their luminous rings dimmed to cold metal. Trade fleets drifted between systems with no authority to guide them. Military armadas waited for orders that never came. The galaxy, once loud with movement, held its breath. And still, the human fleet did not advance. That restraint became its own weapon. Inside Earth's deepest command vault, buried beneath layers of stone, ocean, and shielding older than most civilizations, humanity watched. Rows of officers stood at their stations. No one shouted. No one rushed. Every movement followed procedures written centuries earlier. A senior commander reviewed the status board. Council response. Disorganized, an intelligence officer replied. Multiple emergency sessions. No unified command. Several species are requesting protection. The commander nodded once. Expected. Another officer hesitated. Some are surrendering preemptively. Log it, the commander said. No response. Earth did not acknowledge fear. It acknowledged actions. Above the planet, the human home fleet remained hidden, folded so deeply into space that even advanced sensors could not track it directly. What the galaxy saw near the council was only the outer shell. A warning layer. The real force waited elsewhere. In the council chamber, desperation replaced disbelief. We must strike first, a military delegate shouted. If we show weakness, you will show extinction, the historian snapped back. Do you not understand? They are controlling engagement without firing. As if summoned by the word, a new report arrived. Chair, an analyst said, pale. A council-aligned strike group attempted to maneuver near the Persei corridor. And? The speaker demanded. They are no longer in normal space. The chamber erupted. Destroyed. No, the analyst replied. Contained. Their ships still exist, but they cannot move. Time dilation fields are holding them in place. A delegate whispered. They're imprisoned. No, the historian said quietly. They're preserved. The implications settled like ash. Humanity was demonstrating capability without bloodshed. Every move said the same thing. We could end this. We are choosing not to. That choice terrified the galaxy more than violence ever could. On Earth, another alert chimed. Unauthorized incursion, an officer reported. Unidentified stealth probes near Sol's outer boundary. The commander's eyes hardened. Council design? Yes. Activate response Tier 1. No missiles launched. No lasers fired. Space around the probes simply rejected them. Their hulls twisted as gravity inverted in localized pockets. Systems failed one by one, not burned out, but rewritten. The probes transmitted scrambled data back toward Council space before collapsing into harmless debris. Earth sent nothing back, but the message was received. In a distant system, a neutral world watched human ships pass overhead, vast, angular shapes casting shadows across continents. Cities braced for bombardment that never came. Instead, ancient planetary shields activated without command. Power grids stabilized. Defense platforms aligned automatically. Human-built systems, installed generations ago under the excuse of humanitarian aid, came fully online. The planetary governor stared at the readings. We never authorized this. A technician answered, voice trembling. We didn't need to. The systems recognize a human strategic condition. What condition? Council overreach. Word spread fast. Worlds once ignored by the Council realized something unsettling. Humanity had not only prepared for its own survival, it had prepared others. Back in the Council chamber, the speaker received a report he had prayed would never come. Chair, 3 major Council defense hubs have gone offline. Attacked? No. Overridden. They're intact, but locked out of our control. A bitter laugh escaped someone. They took our weapons without firing a shot. The speaker sank into his seat. Another transmission arrived. This time not a message, but a data dump. Tactical simulations. Predictive models. Entire battle scenarios showing Council defeat in every possible escalation. At the end of the file, one line of human text repeated. We have already played this war. The chamber understood then. Humanity had run the simulations. Thousands of them. Millions. Every Council response, every alliance shift, every betrayal. This was not a reaction. This was an execution. On Earth, a junior officer spoke up. Command, civilian networks are requesting clarification. The commander paused. From where? Everywhere, the officer replied. They want to know if this is war. The commander considered the question. No, he said at last. This is enforcement. Across the galaxy, one species ignored the warning. A hardline empire, long resentful of human absence, ordered its fleet to fire on the nearest human vessel. The shot never reached its target. Space bent. The energy dispersed into nothing. The firing ship's weapons went dark. Its reactors shut down, not destroyed, but asleep. The human vessel did not turn. Seconds later, the Empire's entire fleet experienced the same failure. Broadcast channels lit up with the Empire's desperate cries. Earth responded at last. Not with force. With a single broadcast sent on every frequency, translated into every known language. We see you. The message continued. You were not chosen as an example. You chose yourself. The Empire's fleets were left adrift. Alive. Powerless. The galaxy watched. Fear turned into understanding. Humanity was not punishing hatred. It was punishing arrogance. Inside the Council chamber, the speaker finally found his voice again. Open a channel to Earth. Not a demand. A request. Technicians worked frantically. For the first time since the crisis began, a channel opened. A human appeared on the central display. Not a warrior. Not a politician. An old man in a simple uniform. You ignored us once, the speaker said carefully. We will not make that mistake again. The human studied him for a long moment. You already have, he replied. The feed cut. Outside the chamber, human fleets began to move at last, not toward worlds, but toward symbols. Archives. Command nodes. Council infrastructure. The galaxy realized what came next. Earth was not here to destroy civilizations. It was here to dismantle the system that had judged humanity expendable. And this time, there would be no vote. Only results. The galaxy had always believed the Council was eternal. Empires rose and collapsed. Borders shifted. Wars burned themselves out. But the Council endured. It was the center of order, the voice of reason, the final authority. Even those who hated it feared its absence more than its rule. That belief shattered the moment Earth began dismantling it without firing a warhead. Across Council space, command relays failed in perfect sequence. Not all at once, never all at once. Humanity did it slowly enough for everyone to understand what was happening. One archive locked. One data vault seized. One control nexus isolated. Each failure sent shockwaves through systems that had relied on Council oversight for centuries. Inside the Council chamber, panic finally broke discipline. Delegates shouted across specific lines. Accusations flew. Old grudges resurfaced. Some demanded immediate surrender. Others screamed for total war. Several representatives simply stood and left, abandoning their seats without permission. The speaker struck his staff again and again, but the order refused to return. "They are dismantling us," a military delegate said hoarsely. "System by system. They are not attacking civilians," another countered. "Not a single confirmed casualty." "That makes it worse," the first snapped. "It means they're choosing restraint." The historian who had spoken earlier sat silently, her eyes fixed on the star map. Entire regions glowed faintly, marked as human-controlled stabilization zones. "They're isolating authority," she said at last. "Not territory." The speaker turned toward her. "Explain." "They are removing our ability to command," she said. "Not our ability to exist." As if to confirm her words, a new report arrived. "Chair," an analyst said, voice strained. "Human forces have entered the Council's central historical archive." The chamber went still. "That archive predates most member species," the speaker said. "It is protected by Council encryption," the analyst interrupted, "which they bypassed in less than 3 seconds. Images appeared. Human vessels hovering near the archive structure, their presence calm, almost respectful. No weapons fired. No damage inflicted. Then the archive itself activated. Across the galaxy, hidden channels opened. The Council's past spilled into the present. Secret votes. Suppressed records. Wars quietly enabled, then denied. Species sacrificed to preserve balance. Entire civilizations labeled acceptable losses. Worlds watched their histories rewritten in real time, not by humans, but by truth. The Council chamber erupted in horror. "Shut it down," the speaker shouted. "We can't," a technician replied. "They're broadcasting from inside the archive's own systems." Humanity had turned the Council's memory against it. Outside Council space, reactions varied. Some worlds erupted in rage. Others are in grief. Many in silence as centuries of lies unraveled. A neutral planet, long punished for refusing Council alignment, sent a single message into the void. "We were right." Earth did not reply. In the Council chamber, the speaker's voice cracked. "Open a full channel. All concessions. All authority. Whatever they want." Technicians obeyed. The channel opened, not to Earth, but to a human-controlled relay node positioned between stars. A human representative appeared. Not in uniform. Not armed. A woman, standing in a plain room, hands folded calmly in front of her. "You have our attention," she said. The speaker stood slowly. "This Council acknowledges its failures. We request immediate negotiations to prevent." "To prevent what?" the woman asked, her tone neutral. The speaker hesitated. "Further escalation." She tilted her head slightly. "Escalation requires hostility." Silence filled the chamber. "You are not under attack," she continued. "You are under review." A delegate shouted. "You have no authority to judge the Council." The woman looked directly at him. "We do not need your permission." The feed widened. More humans appeared, standing behind her. Different ages. Different backgrounds. Soldiers. Scientists. Civilians. "We are not here to rule," she said. "We are here because you refused to stop ruling when you should have." The speaker swallowed. "What does Earth want?" The woman considered the question. "Compliance," she said. "Transparency. And consequences." The word echoed through the chamber. A military delegate stepped forward. "And if we refuse?" The woman's expression did not change. "Then you will discover how much of your power was borrowed." The channel cut. Moments later, another report arrived. "Chair, Council enforcement fleets are standing down." "On whose order?" the speaker demanded. The analyst shook her head slowly. "Their own." Across the galaxy, admirals and commanders reviewed the revelations pouring out of the archives. Many realized they had been enforcing laws built on lies. orders that had cost lives for reasons never disclosed. Some refused to continue. Others surrendered their authority willingly. Humanity had not defeated the Council's fleets. It had broken their belief in the system they served. In a distant system, a Council-aligned world attempted to seize control of a human stabilization node by force. The response was immediate. Space folded inward. The attacking vessels vanished, not destroyed, but displaced into a pocket of null space where motion itself was impossible. A human message followed seconds later. Recovered when hostilities ended. No threats. No anger. Just certainty. Back in the Council chamber, one final report arrived. Quiet, devastating. Chair, the population registers. What about them? The speaker asked weakly. They've been unlocked, the analyst said. Species can now see how many of their own were lost to Council-sanctioned containment actions. The speaker closed his eyes. The Council had not lost a war. It had lost legitimacy. Outside the chamber, human fleets completed their movement. They did not surround planets. They surrounded ideas, data centers, command hubs, propaganda nodes. The galaxy watched as the system it had trusted for millennia was stripped down to its bones. And still, humanity did not claim control. That frightened everyone most of all. In Earth's command vault, the old commander watched the feeds in silence. An officer approached him. Council authority is collapsing faster than predicted. The commander nodded. People don't fight for lies once they see the truth. What's the next phase? The officer asked. The commander's gaze hardened. Now, he said, we see who they really are without the Council hiding them. Far away, in the Council chamber that no longer felt like the center of anything, the speaker looked around at the emptying seats, the shouting delegates, the words abandoning him in real time. For the first time in his long life, he understood the scale of their mistake. Humanity had not come to destroy the galaxy. It had come to remove the illusion that the galaxy was ever just. And once that illusion was gone, nothing would ever be the same again. The collapse did not happen all at once. That was the cruelest part. Across the galaxy, the idea of the Galactic Council did not shatter, it rotted. Authority drained away in slow, undeniable stages. Systems waited for orders that never arrived. Fleets requested confirmations that went unanswered. Courts postponed rulings because no one trusted the laws behind them anymore. Humanity had not destroyed the structure. It had removed the load-bearing lies. On worlds that had depended on Council protection, fear turned inward. Leaders discovered their defenses were symbolic at best. Economies froze. Alliances fractured as species realized they had never been equals, only assets. And everywhere, one question echoed. Why did the humans prepare this long? In a distant sector, a Council-aligned empire convened its war council. Its leaders had watched the broadcasts, dismissed the revelations as manipulation, and reached the same conclusion their ancestors always had. Force still decides history. We cannot allow humans to redefine order, the High Marshal declared. If the Council falls, we fall next. A fleet was assembled, vast, aggressive, built to intimidate entire regions. Its objective was simple: seize a human stabilization zone and prove that resistance was still possible. The fleet crossed the boundary. Nothing happened. No alarms. No warnings. Then space itself changed. Stars bent inward, their light stretching into impossible arcs. Sensors screamed contradictions. Mass without gravity, movement without distance. The fleet slowed as if flying through thick liquid. Human ships emerged. Not in formation. In position. They were already there. The High Marshal opened a channel. This system is under sovereign. A human response cut in, calm and precise. This system is under review. The Marshal sneered. You expect us to stand down? No, the human replied. We expect you to demonstrate why you were never trusted with authority. The fleet fired. The weapons vanished. Not deflected. Not absorbed. Denied. Every firing solution failed, as if the universe itself refused to cooperate. Reactors surged, then stabilized under foreign control. Shields powered down on command. The fleet did not issue. Human ships did not return fire. They began extracting. Entire weapon arrays were removed from enemy vessels without breaching hulls. Command bridges found themselves isolated from the rest of their ships, sealed inside pockets of altered space. One by one, the fleet went silent. The High Marshal stared at his dead controls. What are you doing? A human voice answered evenly. Correcting a mistake. The fleet was left intact, drifting, harmless. The message that followed was short and broadcast across nearby sectors. Power taken without responsibility will always be taken back. The empire collapsed within weeks, not from invasion, but from realization. Its allies withdrew. Its subjects revolted. Its myth of strength evaporated. Elsewhere, the galaxy reacted in very different ways. Some species surrendered authority willingly, dismantling council-era structures before humans reached them. Others begged Earth for protection, offering loyalty, resources, even worship. Earth refused all of it. Human representatives repeated the same phrase every time. We are not replacing the council. That terrified everyone who heard it. On Earth, the command vault buzzed with constant updates. Officers tracked political implosions, military stand-downs, and economic fractures spreading like fault lines. A strategist frowned at her display. They're turning on each other. They always do, the old commander replied. When the referee leaves the field. But we didn't intend this level of instability. No, he said. They did. Long before we arrived. A junior officer hesitated. Some worlds are requesting direct human governance. The commander's voice hardened. Denied. Even the ones begging. Especially the ones begging. The officer nodded, understanding. Humanity had learned the cost of ruling others a long time ago. In the remnants of council space. The speaker remained in the chamber that no longer mattered. Rows of seats stood empty. The Great Star map flickered as systems reclassified themselves beyond council authority. An aide approached quietly. Chair, we are no longer recognized as a central body. The speaker exhaled slowly. Then what are we? The aide did not answer. Another report arrived, this one different. Human fleets are withdrawing. The speaker looked up sharply. Retreating. No, the aide said. Repositioning. They're leaving stabilized systems behind. Handing control back to local governments. Without conditions? The aide swallowed. With one. The speaker's voice was hoarse. Which is? Transparency. All records remain open. Permanently. The speaker laughed once, bitter and hollow. They stripped us naked and walked away. Outside the chamber, humanity's presence faded from the skies of countless worlds. But the changes remained. Archives stayed unlocked. Hidden treaties stayed exposed. Power no longer flowed upward, it fractured outward. And the galaxy struggled to adapt. On one forgotten world, survivors of a council-sanctioned containment war stood before a human delegation. Their cities lay in ruins. Their species had been nearly erased generations ago. We thought you abandoned us, their leader said. The human representative met his gaze. We were not ready then. And now, she said softly, we are making sure it never happens again. The survivors bowed, not in submission, but in understanding. Back in deep space, the old commander reviewed casualty reports. Minimal loss of life, an officer reported. Far below projections. Good, the commander said. That means they're learning. What if they don't? The officer asked. The commander did not answer immediately. He watched a star map showing countless independent systems, newly exposed to freedom and fear. Then, he said at last, we will remind them again. Far from Earth, a group of species gathered without council oversight for the first time. No speaker, no hierarchy, just cautious voices and open records. One delegate asked the question no one else would. Will humanity return? Another answered quietly. They never left. In the ruins of the old council chamber, the speaker stood alone. The blue star outside had stabilized, its light no longer flickering. He finally understood the true cost of underestimating humanity. They had not come to punish the galaxy. They had come to prove a single, devastating truth. Power without accountability is the most dangerous force in the universe. And humanity had spent centuries learning exactly how to dismantle it. The galaxy did not collapse. It convulsed. With the Council's authority gone, the universe entered a dangerous moment between orders, where old rules no longer applied and new ones had not yet formed. Trade routes rerouted themselves. Defense pacts dissolved overnight. Species that had relied on the Council to restrain their enemies suddenly found themselves exposed. And still, humanity did not step into lead. That absence was deliberate. In Earth's command vault, predictive models cascaded across the walls. Each one showed a different outcome, some hopeful, some catastrophic. A strategist broke the silence. Instability is peaking faster than expected. Several regions are approaching open conflict. The old commander folded his hands behind his back. That was always going to happen. Do we intervene? Not yet. Even if wars break out. Especially then. The room went still. We are not here to save them from their choices. The commander continued. We are here to make sure those choices cannot be hidden. Across the galaxy, the first post-council war ignited. Two rival powers, both long restrained by council arbitration, moved fleets toward a contested system rich in resources. Old grudges flared. Ancient propaganda resurfaced. Millions prepared for war as if it were destiny. Human observers watched from folded space. No weapons activated. No messages sent. The fleets clashed. It was brutal, inefficient, wasteful. Thousands died in minutes. Then something strange happened. Human systems activated, not offensively, but recording everything. Every maneuver, every order, every live broadcast by both sides. And then, in the middle of the battle, space itself locked. Both fleets froze. Weapons stopped mid-discharge. Missiles hung motionless like sculptures. Fires paused in vacuum. Human ships unfolded into view between the opposing forces. A single broadcast went out across every channel. You are being observed. One of the fleet commanders screamed, You have no right. You chose violence. The human voice replied evenly. We are choosing visibility. Data streamed across the galaxy. The war was no longer private. Every species watched the commanders justify their decisions in real time. Every civilian death was counted. Every false claim was disproven instantly. Shame spreads faster than fear. The commanders realized the truth too late. Humanity was not stopping the war. It was making sure everyone remembered it. After exactly 7 minutes, space released its hold. Human ships vanished. The fleets, shaken and exposed, retreated almost immediately. Their leaders resigned within days. Their populations demanded answers that could no longer be buried. The lesson spread. Wars could still happen, but they could no longer be hidden behind authority. In the ruins of the former council capital, the speaker watched these events unfold on stolen feeds. He was no longer addressed as chair. No one guarded the chamber anymore. The great hall echoed with absence. They're letting us fail, an aide whispered. Yes, the speaker replied softly. So we cannot pretend we were betrayed. Another message arrived, this one not from Earth, but from dozens of independent worlds. They were forming something new. No central authority. No permanent rulers. Shared records. Shared responsibility. And one universal clause embedded into the framework, written in human language and translated everywhere. Power must always be observable. The speaker closed his eyes. Humanity has not imposed a system. It had inspired one by showing what happened without lies. On Earth, public networks finally learned the full scope of what was happening. Humanity's own population watched as centuries of preparation unfolded, not with cheers, but with heavy understanding. A civilian asked the question echoing everywhere. Why didn't we stop the first war? A historian answered quietly. Because if we had, they would have learned nothing. Human fleets repositioned again, this time deeper into the galaxy's core. Not to occupy, but to observe fault lines forming between rising powers. Then came the moment humanity had anticipated most. A coalition of species, fearful of chaos, attempted to resurrect the council under a new name. They gathered fleets. They claimed legitimacy. They declared humanity a destabilizing force. The declaration echoed across the stars. Earth responded within seconds. A single transmission. Demonstration authorized. In a controlled system far from inhabited worlds, humanity activated a weapon that had never been used. Space did not explode. It folded inward. An entire star system compressed, not destroyed, but suspended, held in a perfect, unmoving lattice. Time slowed to a crawl inside it. Energy froze mid-emission. The galaxy stared in horror. Then humanity released it. The system returned to normal, untouched, unharmed. Earth sent one final message. This is restraint. The coalition disbanded within hours. Back in the command vault, an officer whispered, They're afraid of us now. The commander shook his head. No, they're afraid of becoming irrelevant. And after this phase? The officer asked. The commander looked at the galaxy map, now fractured, raw, and honest. After this, he said. They decide who they are without someone else to blame. In distant systems, species began teaching new histories. Not council histories. Not heroic ones. Honest ones. Children learned about the wars their leaders hid. About the lies that shaped empires. About the humans who did not save them from pain, but made sure it was never forgotten. In the abandoned council chamber, the speaker removed his ceremonial insignia and placed it on the floor. For the first time, no one argued. The galaxy was hurting, but it was awake. And humanity watched, silent and unyielding, knowing that the lesson had finally reached its final stage. Pain was not the punishment. Pain was the teacher. And the galaxy would never forget the class. The galaxy stood at a crossroads it had never faced before. For the first time in recorded history, there was no central power to blame, no council decree to hide behind, no ancient authority to absorb guilt. Every system, every species, every leader now carried the full weight of their own decisions. And hanging over all of it was one unanswered question. What would humanity do next? Human fleets remained everywhere and nowhere. They did not occupy worlds. They did not demand tribute. They did not enforce laws. They watched from folded space, from deep shadow, from places no other species could reach. Their presence was felt, not seen. On dozens of worlds, emergency assemblies gathered. Some argued for unity, others for isolation. Old enemies faced each other across tables without council mediators to soften their words. Fear made many desperate. A coalition of mid-tier powers sent a joint delegation towards Sol. Not warships, not diplomats and regalia, just representatives. They crossed human space slowly, guided by invisible hands. No weapons locked onto them. No warnings sounded. Their ships were shepherded safely to the edge of Earth's system. And there, for the first time in centuries, humanity spoke openly. The delegation was received not in orbit, not in space, but on the surface of Earth itself. They stood beneath the open sky. That alone unsettled them. The human chamber was simple. No grand symbols. No towering thrones. Just a circular room with seats at equal height. Humans entered quietly. Not soldiers, not politicians, leaders chosen for this moment. One of the delegates finally broke the silence. "You have the power to rule everything," she said. "Why don't you?" A human woman answered, her voice steady. "Because we remember what it costs." Another delegate leaned forward. "The galaxy is unstable. Without you guiding it, more wars will come." "Yes," the human replied. "They will. And you're willing to allow that." The human met his gaze. "We are willing to allow responsibility." The room fell quiet. "You could become the new council," someone said softly. "A better one." The human shook her head. "That is exactly how the old one began." Outside the chamber, Earth went on with its day. Cities moved. Oceans rolled. Life continued, not as a capital of an empire, but as a world that had learned the hard way. One delegate asked the question everyone feared. What if someone tries to rebuild the old system by force? The human answer came without hesitation. Then they will learn why it failed. That was all. No threats. No promises. Just certainty. The delegations returned home carrying something heavier than fear. Clarity. Across the galaxy, new alliances formed, but carefully. No permanent leaders. No hidden clauses. Shared data was mandatory. Military actions required open justification, recorded and visible to all. It was messy. Arguments erupted. Talks collapsed. Some regions descended into brief, violent conflict. And every time, human systems are activated. Not to stop the violence. To record it. To preserve the truth so it could never be denied. Worlds began to realize something profound. Humanity was not enforcing peace. It was enforcing memory. On Earth, public debate raged. Humanity itself was not united in comfort. Some citizens questioned the restraint. We could end all wars, they argued. Veterans answered quietly. So could we have before. That's how the cycle starts. The old commander stood before a civilian assembly, his voice tired but resolute. "We were underestimated once," he said. "Because we were loud, emotional, angry." He paused. "So we learned to be patient." A young voice asked from the crowd. "What if the galaxy never thanks us?" The commander smiled faintly. "Then we'll know we did it right." Far away, remnants of the old council attempted one last act of defiance. A handful of former elites, stripped of authority, tried to rally loyal forces to reclaim control over key archives. They failed before they began. Human systems froze their ships in place, not permanently, not violently, just long enough for every world to see who they were and what they tried to do. No trial followed. No execution. They were released into obscurity. Powerless. Forgotten. That, more than death, ended their ambitions. In a quiet system near the edge of mapped space, a memorial world was established. Not by humans, but by dozens of species together. It listed every civilization lost to the Council containment. Every war is hidden. Every truth buried. At the entrance, one sentence was carved in multiple languages. Never again unseen. Humans did not attend the opening. They watched from afar. In the former council chamber, the speaker, no longer a speaker, stood alone one final time. The seats were empty now, the Great Star map reduced to a simple navigation display. He recorded a message for the archives humanity had unlocked. "We thought order was in control," he said, his voice steady but hollow. "We thought silence meant stability." He looked at the stars. "We were wrong." He ended the recording and walked out, leaving the chamber dark. On Earth, the command vault began shutting down systems, one by one. Observation networks remained, but war protocols were sealed again. Not dismantled, just dormant. An officer approached the old commander. "They're adapting," she said. "Slowly, but they are." The commander nodded. "Good. And if they forget?" He looked out at the stars. "Then we remind them." Human fleets withdrew deeper into shadow, their presence fading from daily life. But the knowledge remained. The galaxy now understood the final truth. Humanity has not claimed the future. It had refused to own it. And that refusal, calm, disciplined, absolute, reshaped everything. Because the most terrifying thing in the universe was no longer human power. It was human restraint. And every species knew, without doubt, that if the galaxy ever tried to rebuild the old lies, Earth would be watching, waiting, and ready to teach the lesson again, harder than before. Years passed. Not peacefully, not cleanly, but honestly. The galaxy no longer moved to a single rhythm. There was no central calendar, no universal decree, no voice that claimed to speak for all. Instead, thousands of local accords rose and fell, stitched together by necessity rather than fear. Some failed, some endured, and through it all, one constant remained. Humanity did not disappear again, but it did not rule. Across former council space, children grew up learning a different history than their parents had. Not the polished versions, not the ceremonial lies. They learned about the wars hidden behind votes, about the civilizations erased quietly, about the moment the galaxy learned what accountability felt like. They also learned about humans, not as gods, not as conquerors, but as the species that refused to look away. In many systems, human-built observation beacons still hovered in deep orbit. They did not transmit orders. They did not interfere. They recorded every treaty, every mobilization, every broken promise. Nothing vanished into darkness anymore. On Earth, life returned to something resembling normal. Cities expanded. Oceans healed where they could. Humanity did not celebrate its role in galactic history. There were no victory parades, no monuments declaring dominance, only quiet memorials, names etched into stone, worlds that no longer existed, warnings written in languages no longer spoken. The old commander retired at last, his hair white, his posture slower, his eyes still sharp. He visited one of the deepest memorial halls beneath Earth's surface, walking alone among the records. A young officer followed him, hesitant. "Sir," she said, "do you think they'll keep it?" "Keep what?" he asked. "The lesson." He stopped and looked at her. "No," he said gently. "They won't." She frowned. "Then why did we do all this?" He smiled, tired but certain. "Because forgetting is not the same as erasing," he replied. "And remembering makes the next lie harder to tell." Far from Earth, a new generation of leaders gathered in a system once controlled by the Council. There was no grand chamber, no elevated throne, just a shared space, transparent and exposed, open to observation from every participating world. They argued. They compromised. They failed publicly. And when one of them tried to hide something, the system flagged it automatically, not with punishment, but with exposure. The leader resigned within hours. That became the new norm. In a remote sector, A war nearly ignited between two old rivals. Fleets assembled. Weapons powered up. Propaganda surged. Then the recordings surfaced. Archived simulations showing exactly how the conflict would end. Casualties listed. Economic collapse predicted. Civilian losses calculated down to the individual. No human voice accompanied the data. It didn't need one. The fleet stood down. On a world once scarred by council containment, survivors gathered under an open sky. They lit fires, sang songs that had almost been lost, and spoke names that history had tried to erase. One elder raised his voice. "They did not save us," he said. "They made sure we were not erased twice." The crowd understood. Humanity had never promised rescue, only witness. In the ruins of the old council capital, the chamber was finally dismantled. Not destroyed, but repurposed. Its great star map was broken down into individual systems, each displayed equally, no center dominating the rest. A plaque was placed at the entrance, written in dozens of languages, including human. "Authority is borrowed. Memory is permanent." No human delegation attended the dedication. They were watching from elsewhere. From the dark between stars, human observation networks continued their quiet work. Not expanding, not retreating, just existing, patient, precise, incorruptible. Every few years, a system would test the boundaries. A leader would attempt secrecy. A fleet would move without disclosure. And every time, the same thing happened. The truth surfaced, not as judgment, as a fact. Over time, fear of humanity faded, replaced by something stranger. Respect. Not admiration. Not love. Respect born from knowing exactly where the line was, and that it would be enforced without anger or mercy. On Earth, children learned about the day the stars shook, not as a tale of glory, but as a warning. Teachers ended the lesson the same way, every time. Power is loud, they said. Restraint is quiet. And quiet things last longer. Decades later, a young historian from a distant species sent a message into human space. Not a demand, not a plea, a question. "Do you regret it?" the message asked. "Letting the galaxy hurt?" The reply came days later. "We regret that it was necessary." That was all. The historian shared the message publicly. It spread faster than any declaration ever had, because it carried something rare: honesty. In the end, the galaxy did not unite under a flag. It united under a memory. A shared understanding burned into its collective history. That humanity had once been underestimated. That humanity had been ignored. That humanity had learned patience instead of surrender. And when the galaxy crossed the line one final time, Earth answered, not with fire, not with conquest, but with a lesson so deep it reshaped civilization itself. The stars still burned. Empires still rose and fell. Conflict still existed. But arrogance? That became dangerous. Because somewhere in the dark, beyond sight, but never beyond reach, humanity remained. Watching, recording, waiting. And every species, no matter how powerful, no matter how ancient, carried the same quiet certainty in their thoughts. If we choose to forget the lesson, Earth will remind us, not in anger, not in haste, but hard enough to shake the stars again.